I'm Joe Parker. I'm counselor for the Westview Group. I'm also co-owner of Cornerstone as well as alumni. I awakened from Cornerstone in the summer, I think actually April of 2000, which feels like a really long time ago now. I've been in recovery for a little over 25 years, and I've been a counselor since like 2005, so whatever that is, however many years that is. And I love what I do. I love working with teens and their families in recovery. This is truly like a dream come true for me. I remember being a teenager and sitting in outpatient and watching my counselor and thinking, I'm gonna do this someday. Like, I'm gonna be him someday. And so this literally is like a dream come true for me to be able to do this, to run groups and do climbers and all of that kind of stuff. It totally stokes my fire, reminds me constantly of all the reasons why I fell in love with recovery. And I'm still active in recovery. I still have a sponsor. I still go to meetings. I still sponsor dudes. I still work the steps. And very excited and happy to be here with you guys this morning, and really excited for the awakening tonight. So why don't we start with the ladies, and we'll save Mr. Mark for last. So whichever one of you wants to go. I love you guys.
Hi, I'm Christy.
Hey, Christy.
So I've been in recovery for about 13 years. I started recovery with no addicts in my life. I started recovery because I was codependent, and it was really making my life unmanageable. And so then in 2020, I came into this program with Zach. He had a psychotic break from using marijuana. And because of my recovery, I knew that that he had to do something, that we couldn't, that doing nothing wasn't an option. And so we've been in the program since then, and I awakened tonight, so I'm excited about that. And I'm still very active in my Al-Anon recovery. If y'all haven't seen me here on Saturdays, I go to my Al-Anon meeting every Saturday now. And I think I'll probably always be active in Al-Anon and the steps. I've also been active in adult children of alcoholics or any other dysfunction. I was active in that for a few years, more early in my recovery. And I'm glad to be here. Was there anything else I needed to share?
No, that's great.
Okay.
Love you.
Hi, I'm Josie.
Hey, Josie.
I joined Cornerstone in May of 2019, went through outpatient, and I awakened in November of 2022. I have almost 4 years sober. I joined because of my younger brother, Tim, who works here now. And I had a lot of parental support in the program. So I look forward to talking a lot about my experience with my family and healing today. Thanks.
Awesome. Love you.
Hey, I'm Mark.
Hey, Mark.
I unexpectedly joined Cornerstone and got into recovery when my parents brought me to a Thursday meeting, one random, day. And that was in 2015, late 2015, and I have been in recovery since then. I've not been sober since then. My sobriety date is July 31st, 2017. And the thing about my story, and I work for Cornerstone as well. And I love being able to do this stuff too. And I love coming to Thursday night meetings and coffees, because I feel like my story at first was definitely pretty rough, and I struggled a lot. And I relate to a lot of the teens right now. And I'm just really happy to be here. I am still working a program. It's how I stay sane, being of service, sponsoring dudes, going to meetings. This job also helps me out a lot. And I used to always want to, be in the position that I saw, like all the other staff aides, that I had, getting through Cornerstone. and I just saw how much they benefited from it, and I love it so far. So I'm also excited to answer y'all's questions today. Thank you.
Love you, man. All right, we're gonna dive right in. There's a couple of questions here that are pretty similar and are kind of like zingers a little bit right off the bat. So we're gonna get real quick. So I'm gonna read both of these, and then Christy, I'm gonna start with you from the parent's perspective. So how do I stop making excuses for myself, and what impact does that have on my teen? And then this one couples well with that. From the teen's perspective, and this would be for you too, from the teen's perspective, what happens when I, as a parent, don't follow through with enforcing consequences? And from the parent's perspective, what happens? You want to start?
Okay, so what happens if I don't follow through, and what happens if I make excuses for myself? I think that hurts me, and it hurts my child, and it robs us both of an opportunity to grow. And it's really, really tempting for that to happen because of the fear that we feel. And the fear is real. It's not like it's just imagined fear. I mean, what we do, our teens can react to, and it just feels really, really scary. And I think that that's the reason why it's so important to have a program that you're involved in. The more active you are in recovery, the more consistent you're going to be, the less excuses you're going to make for yourself. Just doing this alone and in my own head, I would make excuses and not follow through. How I rationalize just on my own in my own head is not a healthy way. I need other people around me to hold me accountable. And when I do feel so scared to call those shots or make the decisions that need to be made, I have to reach out and talk to other people who aren't so close to the situation and really listen to them, because since they're not so close to it, they're seeing a lot more clearly. You know, when we're hijacked in fear, it does things to our brains that cause us to revert back to childhood trauma. It can do all kinds of things. And so I think it's super important to have accountability, to be in community, have accountability, have a list of people that you can reach out and talk to. Don't just assume that you're always making the right decision, especially if you're in fear. Just make that phone call to somebody in the program who can, and then really listen, even if it's hard and even if it's not what you want to do.
Yeah, my parents, something that they taught me is that they're not going to place my feelings above calling shots on me, which was actually very, very helpful, and I'm glad I got my feelings hurt a few times because I needed it, and it was a wake-up call for me. So it taught me that I'm a really wiggly person, and if there is wiggle room, I absolutely will try and get out of something, especially if I notice that I'm flying under the radar. So it actually meant a lot to me to know that they were paying enough attention and that they were really seeing me and they cared enough to say something.
Cool. Anything you'd add to that?
My mom was definitely the more consistent parent when it came to her own recovery and being an Al-Anon and all of that. And I can say that it helped me out a lot. You know, I think for me, the way I reacted at first was I was definitely more rebellious, and I did get a little resentful, and my feelings were definitely hurt. You know, and I just think like the biggest thing for me, even today, is still like painting myself in a corner, like having, you know, that accountability and getting that from my parents on a consistent basis, whether it was, you know, getting kicked out of the house or having to give up certain things or whatever, even like when I was getting high dishonestly, you know, going back to treatment. That really taught me, one, like it really showed that they both cared about me and they wanted me to get better. And now I see that, you know, I didn't see that back then. And two, like just as like a teenager, like to be honest, I didn't want to do any of those things, you know, like I wanted to be able to be trusted to have certain things, at that time whether or not my intention was to misuse those privileges or, you know, to actually feel like I had gained some trust. You know, and that pushed me to grow to where, you know, I didn't have to like fear that I was gonna get, you know, punished. And, you know, that ended up with me like learning how to do those kinds of things consistently, like sending emails or working with a sponsor or going to meetings. But yeah, thanks.
Cool. Yeah, I'll just kind of piggyback off of that. I think that it's really difficult for me to see others' excuses or some of their BS or call them on it if I'm accepting some of my own. And it's part of the reason why like the parent-driven recovery is so important, and that the example is not like the biggest thing that influences people. It's like the only thing that influences people. And so as the leaders in the home, we really want to be the ones that are modeling the behavior that we want to see from our teens. And it's not about being perfect. It's about being consistent. You know, it's like being consistent with our shots, with our follow through. You know, I've had kind of an interesting experience recently because I've been training a puppy, and it's amazing how much puppies are like teenagers because they will test you. Like I've been teaching her to sit at the door and wait and stay there until I tell her to come. And the first day she did it pretty well. She's a smart dog. She did it pretty well. The second day, she was completely obstinate. She was fighting it, would not sit still, was running out the door, and it almost felt like she was testing me. Like, is he gonna let this go, or is he gonna keep at it? And I didn't let her off the hook, and I made her do it all day long, every time we walked in or out of a door. And the third day, it was nothing. It was like, I just do this, and she's sitting. And the lesson that I got from that, or the takeaway, was she was looking to see if I was going to be consistent. Like, am I gonna let this go? Is he gonna let me off the hook because I'm being such a pain in the butt? You know, and then, so that kind of reminded me a little bit of the teens that we work with, where they're always watching, they're always listening, and they're testing us constantly. Like, can I still play mom and dad? Can I still get away with the stuff that I used to before? Are things really different? Like, they're constantly like poking. And when they start to realize that things are really different and dynamics are changing in the family and in the relationships, then you tend to start to see a change in them and in their behavior. But they're looking for that consistency, and when we're not consistent, then they find a chink in the armor. You know, they're prone to poke the bear a little bit more, especially if they think that they could get away with it, which is again why the parent-driven recovery is so important. Why, like, I'm working on myself first. There's proportional effort. I'm not just expecting my kid to be dropped off and get fixed. Like, I'm going to meetings. I'm understanding that there's things that I need to take a look at, that, you know, addiction or self-destructive behaviors is a family thing. It's not just an individual thing. We've all played a part in getting us to where we are currently, and I need to play a part in us getting better too. And like, people get better in groups, and a family is a group, and I need to play a part in that and have proportional effort.